whatever else is going on, we can just be here. So
Love it.
I'll ring a bell and then we can practice. So get yourself comfortable. And we'll do a very simple practice. Simple doesn't mean easy. Simple just means simple. So let's just listen to the bell and then we'll walk you through. We'll do a breath practice. Bring your attention to your breath. Noticing how your body is inflated and deflated, the whole thing. As you breathe. And you might notice that your attention is pulled away by the sounds in the room. And then when you notice that, just come on back. One breath at a time. See if you can notice the point in the breath where it's not inhale and not exhale. And see if you can notice the point of the breath where it's not exhale and not yet inhale. Just one breath at a time.
Excuse me.
And if you get lost, just come on back. breath. And exhale, slow, slow, long, extended. Another one or two of those. Feeling as it allows your entire body, head all the way down. Calm down, another deep breath. Exhale slow, feeling that calm head to toe. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. You can join back on the video. Hi, everybody. So now we've arrived. That's good. Zoom at noon. Zoom at noon. Right? Does that count?
Yeah.
I love that video. I think it's cute. Okay, so today, I want to go deeper a little bit deeper. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do this because I need to share my screen, but I don't know how to I don't know how to see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play it for you while I don't know. We'll see. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so now I'm lost. Now I totally lost everybody. I can't see anything. I can share screen. No, I need to be able to share screen. So, Rabbi Teller, can you designate me as a co-host?
Yeah.
Or okay. And then I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how to. Let's see. Okay. No. Ay, ay, ay. That's not it. I don't know how to do it. Let's see. Let's see if I can figure it out. Okay. Man, how do we do this? Does anybody know how to do slides using? I can do Keynote. Then you'll be able to see my presenter notes too, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
You can see it?
Yeah.
Wait a second. Okay, so now I think I'm going to be able to share the Keynote. So you should be able to see this. Is that true?
Yeah.
You can see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll talk today, when we say Shema Israel, I want to go deeper into what Israel means so that we can have an understanding of what we're talking about. What are we talking about when we say those words? So Shema means listen, right? It means listen, but it's not just listen. And we've been working on this for a while now. It's not just listen. When we listen, we commonly think of listening as just using our ears. But there's a way in which, if we're really paying attention, what we'll notice is that what we can tune into in a bigger sense in terms of our senses. What can I feel? What can I see? What can I smell and taste and know and think and hear? That's what the bigger listening is. So when I say the word Shema, in that context, in the Shema, what I'm doing is I am then allowing myself to tune into and pay attention to all of that, all of what I can possibly know. in this particular moment. So it's not that overwhelming. I can go from sense to sense to sense to sense and just check. What can I know? What can I hear? What's the input that I'm getting from those senses? That's Shema. And we've worked on exercises of going through each one of those. And I recommend, and this is not just my recommendation, this is a Piazetzner Rebbe, or no, this is the Magid of Mezrich. He says, go every morning when you wake up. I used to try to do this in bed, and then I found that I kept falling asleep. So I don't do it in the bed in the morning anymore. I get out of my bed, and then I do this practice. I check in with every one of my senses. Just like I think when we all did driver's ed, they told us that before we get in the car, we should check all of the oils and fluids. None of us do it. I know. Maybe some of you do it. I don't. I know I should, right? But that's how we do. That's what we do. Is in the morning we do a little system check. Oh, I can smell. Oh, thank God. Oh, I can see. Oh, thank God. Oh, I can hear. Right? Let's go through them. So that's what I do in the Shema. I tune into all the pieces that can operate. And if I'm doing the Shema in order of the service, then I've already done that in the beginning, right? Before I started the day in my Modeh Ani time. And now I'm 15 minutes at the minimum removed from that time, and now I'm doing Shema, and it's like I've already got the system running, and when I sit down to Shema, I can actually access that again. But this is Israel. So what you see in front of you is a photo of, I'm going to see if I can fix the justification here. So you get to see all of my teacher notes down here. Usually it's accessible. This is behind the scenes right now. I get to pull back the curtain. So this image is the image of Jacob wrestling with the angel. So if you don't remember the story, I'm going to walk you through it, but Jacob is one of our forefathers who ends up, after this struggle, after whatever happens this night with the angel, waking up from this struggle, or maybe he never woke up, maybe he never went to sleep, I don't know, but something changes in this moment, as a result of this moment, that earns him the title Israel. So what is it? Right? What's going on there? So in order to know what's going on there, we have to go back a little further. We have to start to see what does it mean to be Yaakov? What does it mean to be Jacob? As opposed to what does it mean to be Israel? And when we start to sort of peel that back, then we start to see how that applies to our own practice. So I'm going to see if I can speed through this, because it's a lot. Okay, so we know this story. This is Jacob and his brother Esav. Jacob is at home cooking. He's a homebody. He's home with his mama, the mama's boy. And his brother, who you can see, has his arrows, and he's just come back from a hunt. I think it was probably an unsuccessful hunt, if he comes home hungry. But he's famished. He's so hungry that he comes in and says to his brother, "Give me some soup, please. I'm dying of hunger." And his brother, Yaakov, our forefather, by the way, this is why my grandma would say this is Torah Emet. I asked her, when we go back and look at the forefathers and mothers, mostly the forefathers, we notice that actually they were not perfect. There's no perfect about them. They did things that none of us would be proud of telling. And she said, "Oh yeah, that's true. That's because this is Torah Emet. This is the Torah of Truth. It's not a whitewash. Right? We tell you the whole thing as it was, whether we're proud of it or not." So this is a moment that I think when we look at it, we would say, if I had done this when I was a child, I would not be proud of it, personally. If I had extorted my brother out of his birthright for a bowl of soup when he comes in from a hunt, starving, I feel like that's not something I would be tremendously proud of. But I think their struggle actually begins the deceit here. I think the deceit actually comes from earlier. And so that's something that I think we all have to start to understand. It's not just we are not just the product of ourselves. We are the product of energy and time and momentum and generations and a lot of forces that come from before us and will continue after us. And so let's go back one more step. They're in utero. And mama is struggling. And she calls out to God and says, "What's going on? This sucks." Right? And anybody who's been pregnant or been around somebody who's been pregnant knows that it sucks. Right? So, yeah. Or if you're a twin especially. Right? Especially, it's hard enough when there's only one. And what happens in that moment? His mom, their mom, has a concept in her mind about what will be true about the future. What will be true that she gets from God is that there are two nations inside of her, and they are struggling. One shall serve, the elder shall serve the younger. She comes up with a whole story. It's going to be a rivalry. It's going to be a fight. Right? When we think about the birthright, this is a zero-sum game. Right? The world that these two kids are going to be born in before they're even born, in utero, is already set up for a struggle. Right? Mom has already decided, maybe based on maybe the reality, maybe it's just the truth, but in some way she already decided these two kids are they're gonna go at it. Okay, and let's think about the context of the next piece of this. This is the moment when their blind father sits on his deathbed and is about to give blessings away to his children. So not only did Jacob take his brother's birthright, whatever that meant, over a bowl of soup. Now, in order to fulfill the prophecy of this struggle, Mom says, "Quickly, let's go and slaughter a lamb. We'll make a soup. Your dad won't know the difference. We'll cover your arm in fur so that you'll seem hairier than you are. You'll feel more like your brother. You'll smell like the hunt. I have some of his old clothing. We will trick this blind man." Okay. Not only did he take the birthright, now he's about to steal a blessing. And if you read the context of the blessing is a zero-sum blessing. It's either I get the blessing or you get the blessing. Either I'm the lead or you're the lead. We cannot both be winning. We can't both win. There's no room enough for both of us to win. Just look at the context, the way that it's set up. The rules of the game are either I am in charge or my brother is in charge. Either I get the bounty or my brother gets the bounty. We can't split it. There's no such, right? We couldn't both walk away winners, right? You think about it. Think about when this started. This started way, way before he was even born. Right? That's the construct that they have decided society works in. Right? That's the culture. So what I'm trying to point at here is that sometimes the story that we have about what the truth is of reality was born before us. Was handed down, was foisted upon us by our parents, not in a bad way, not like they were malicious, I think they just didn't know how to do anything different. They didn't know a different way of looking at the world, right? They did their best. They're doing their best. We're all doing our best. I think that's a good assumption. So now, okay, I've now showed you 2 scenes with Jacob. Is this the kind of guy you'd be proud of? If you had done this in your childhood, in your teenage years, or however old they are, would this be the kind of action that you would tell with pride about what you did, how you did things well? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that he knew, even from the story it indicates, he knew there was something wrong about this. His mom insists. That doesn't absolve him of responsibility, right? He ended up doing it too. But there's a difference in power dynamic here, and I see a mother and son here going back and forth. So that's good.
She's literally pushing him. Yeah.
He's literally pushing him. So not only does he steal his brother's birthright, which would be the financial piece of things, I think it's the inheritance part, but it's also now he's taking the blessing. He's taking something that is like a spiritual love, an expression of love. And think about what the story is saying, that if only one of us can get the blessing, then what that means about the world is that there's only enough love for one of us or the other one of us, and not both. And I know I'm a rabbi, I'm not supposed to curse. How do you say it? How do you say it nice? That is bovine manure. Let's call it like it is. There's enough love for all of us. There's enough love. There's plenty of love, right? There's never an abounding amount of love that we can never exhaust. But in the story, that in the context, their context, that was not so. Right? So, okay, let's not put all of the blame on Yaakov. I'm not trying to just bury him. But what I'm saying is that there were forces at play. He had a part in some of them, and some of them were also the way the rules of the game were rigged up, and he was just playing his part. So what does he do immediately after he does this? He steals his brother's blessing. What does he do? He gets out of town fast. He knows that what he's done is not going to go well with his brother. And so he runs away, just like we do. Right? He ran away. We've done things we're not proud of. Oh, you know what? I'll say it for myself. I've done things I'm not proud of, and what I tried to do was run away. I tried to run away. Instead of just owning up and acknowledging the fact that I got it wrong, I tried to run. And it didn't work, really. Because what happens is when we try to run, we get sucked right back in. As far as we can throw the boomerang, that's how far it comes back. So what happens? His deceit is mirrored in this little trickery here. Everybody's heard of the Bad Eken. Maybe you have or maybe you haven't, but the Bad Eken is the part of the wedding ceremony before the wedding, when traditionally it's called a veiling ceremony or something like that. Before you're ready to sign the ketubah, before you're ready to impart on the day's festivities, you go and check to make sure it's the right bride in front of you. Why? Why would you need to do such a thing? Well, because, my uncle, Lavan, he tricked me into marrying the wrong girl. I wanted one. I spent 7 hard years working towards it. That was the agreement. And right at the last second, they put a veil over the other sister. And I wouldn't know the difference. It must have been a very thick veil. Wake up the next morning, you're with the wrong sister. Then you got to work another 7 years to get the one you wanted to marry in the first place. So now what? Gets tricked into marrying the wrong sister. And we're still now, by the way, that sibling rivalry motif runs through this too, on the women's side. So this is not just a men thing. This is for the women too. There's a sense that the eldest has to win, right? Something like that. The eldest has got to be the most in charge, even when we get into our 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s. The eldest is always the eldest, right? They always know better. And then they run away. And then they run away. They leave that. I'm shortcutting this. They run away, and what happens? He escapes back. He says, I got to get out of this place, this land of trickery, where they swap the bride out at the last moment. This is horrible. I got to go. I got to get out of this. I can't live like that. I can't live with that kind of narrative. I can't live in that kind of world. But I can't just go back the same as I used to be. I can't. Right? I cannot go back. The deceit here again is not on account of Jacob, who's running away in the middle of the night like a thief. The deceit is on account of his wives. Right? The wives took their father's idols with them. It's interesting. They never fess up to it. So here's what happens. Now he's about to, what's going to happen? So I want to pause this because we're back to the same photo. All right. Am I back on the screen?
Yeah.
So all of this has happened, right? 2 kids before they're even born. Parents are making decisions about who's going to rule what and how that's going to go, right? And we do that. There's a reason that we call it expecting. Right? They say, oh, are you expecting? Yeah, there's a lot of expectations that we have before a kid is born that we don't say out loud about what they'll look like and what they'll be like and what we wish it'll be and how we hope. It's called expecting for a reason. We place our expectations on them before they're here. And then we try to fit them into that box. And that happens to all of us. Our parents did that to us. And our parents' parents did that to them. So don't, before you start going and pointing fingers at your parents, remember that their parents did it to them too. So however hurt you feel on account of whatever they did to you, just know that they have that probably on account of whatever their parents did to them. Right? So it's all just keep continuing getting transferred down. But what's the problem with Yaakov? What's the problem with this guy? The problem with this guy is that from the beginning, even his name, what is Yaakov? Ekev. He's holding on to the heel of his brother, right? Well, what does that mean? Think about it. How do we do that? How are we Yaakov? Right? How do we do that? I'll speak for myself. A lot of times, and I think this is true for everybody, I look outside of myself in order to know how I'm doing. Right? I look to my brother when I was younger, still a little bit now even. I look to my friends, I look to people I look up to in the community, rabbis who are further along the journey. Right? I look to people outside of myself as a marker of how I'm doing. Now that on its own is not such a problem unless you forget, which I think Jacob did, you forget that you have inherent value too. And that possibly, quite possibly, your own thing you need to bring to this world is nothing to do with what they bring to this world. It's a mistake to put yourself into that kind of dynamic. Because we do that all the time, right? We tell ourselves a story about how they are and how we aren't that way, and I wish my hair was like that, or I wish my body was that other thing, or what if I could do that thing that I could have what they have, I would swap places, right? We try to put ourselves in other people's shoes, and we reach in that way towards something that is not really ours to have. And we can never know what it's like to be like them, and nor should we have to. What we need to work on is being with ourselves. And so Jacob's coming back home now, and he realizes that the route that he took before is not the one he needs to have in the future, and he is scared because he hears that his brother, who he hasn't seen in all these years, I think it's something like 20 years, I think they said something like that. 20 years ago, he stole his brother's birthright, or he extorted it from him, and then he stole his blessings. And then he ran off like a thief in the night, only to 20 years later come back. And he's going to encounter him. So what does he do? He's scared. You know he's scared, or just prudent, but probably scared. He splits his camp in half. He puts one on one side of the river and the other on the other side, and he himself goes to another part. And he sleeps the night by himself just in case his brother only wants to attack him, that he could just kill him and not take the whole family out. What a horrible thing to have to think about, right? This is not pleasant. I know people want to say, oh, Torah, it's so nice and it's fluffy. No, this is not fluffy. This is about to be potentially an existential battle. He might lose his life right now. And his brother has pretty good justification for wanting to do harm to him. And in the middle of that night, what happens is that he starts to wrestle with an angel. And what I think happens in that moment, and we can look at the words here. Let's see if I can find it. So the present passed over before him. What does that mean, the present? Oh, think about that. It's not the future anymore, and it's not the past. The present. And he himself lodged that night in the camp. He rose up that night, took his 2 wives, his 2 handmaids, his 11 children, passed them over the ford of the Yavok. He took them, sent them over the stream, and everything he had. And he was left himself alone. And there he wrestled with a man. There wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. What is going on? Now watch what happens. It gets all fuzzy in the story. It's like when you watch a movie and there's a fight scene and it just cuts back and forth and you're not really sure who's hitting who, but you hear the sounds, but it cuts to black and then you see a boom and then you see a pow and then it's like very unclear who's hitting who, but hopefully at the end you know who won based on who's standing, right? And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he couldn't beat him. Who's he? He touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was strained, and he wrestled with him, as he wrestled with him. So this angel now does some damage to Jacob's thigh. He says, let me go, for the day breaks. The angel saying, let go of me, let go. Right? First it was a man, now it's an angel? And he says, I won't let go of you unless you bless me. And he said, what's your name? Right? And we talked about this, what's your name thing from the revelation from the burning bush. He says, Jacob. He says, nope, no longer is your name Jacob. Now you will be Israel. Why? Because you've striven with God and with men and have prevailed. And Jacob says, no, tell me your name, tell me your name. And he says, why are you asking about my name? And he blessed him right there. Never gets the name out of him. Okay. So what's the point here? What's happening? First of all, let's back up even further. How do you know when spiritual practice is working? I think it's good to know. I think it's good to at least consider where we're headed. What's the point of all this? Because otherwise, any road will take you anywhere. And you won't know if you've arrived. Not that there really is an arrival, but you should have some indication whether you're getting closer to or further away from your goals. I think. In my concept, the way that my teachers have explained it to me, and I think makes a lot of sense. I should notice myself becoming more kind and compassionate. That's the marker of whether I'm on the right track or not. If I get meaner and more judgmental and more judgy, I don't know. Uh, Maybe I'm on the wrong path. If I just start to beat myself up more and the people around me, and I just compare myself more, I don't think it's working. It's not working. Not for me, at least. I don't know. Maybe for you, that's fine. I don't want to live like that. So now Jacob is wrestling with this angel, and there's a concept in our tradition that says everything in your life can be for a blessing. Everything. Whether you like it or you don't like it, you should say a blessing about it. Whether you're saying the blessing of Hatov ve'Ametiv, thank you for making this so good in my life, or you're saying the blessing of Dayan Emet. This is the truth. What's happening right now is the truth, whether I like it or not. And the fact that I'm able to be awake and aware in this moment is a blessing in itself. So now Jacob has this whole weight of the past to wrestle with. He was a scumbag, okay? I'm sorry to say it, but he sucked. And he did some horrible things in his life that deserve him to feel that way, right? He should feel bad about what he did. He should. We looked at the scene. Look, whether or not his mom pushed him, he did it, right? He has to at least take responsibility for the fact that he allowed himself to be pushed. Or even if not, for the fact that he did it and the harm that comes on account of having done it. Think about the feelings that his brother had to go through. The betrayal. It's horrible. He had an impact on account of his actions. And so now, all of a sudden, I see this scene of the wrestling as him coming to terms with who he was and is and what he's done and the impact of that. And instead of running away from it, he says, I'm not going to let go until you bless me. I'm not going to let go of this. I'm not willing to keep running away. We saw how that went, right? Thank God. I've got a wonderful family. I've got 11 kids, 2 wives, 2 concubines, lots of riches, right? What else I think that's too much personally, but if that was the life of, like, let's say objectively that was what it meant to have made it in the world. He made it. He made it, right? But what was the price? He hasn't seen his family in 20 years. He has no relationship with his brother, who he probably loves. The way that I've heard twins describe their connection to each other is that they are connected on a soul level with one another. They've done scientific tests. You can inflict pain on one twin halfway around the world, and the other twin will feel it. They're connected to each other. And he's been living away from that. And what it requires of him in order to achieve Yisrael status is to stop comparing himself, is to stop looking outward to see what success looks like. It's to fess up to the things that he's done, knowing he was doing the best he possibly could have done in those moments. Not in a blame way, but in a taking responsibility way. You don't have to beat yourself up just because you didn't do the best, right? I know there's a temptation to live with extra guilt and all these other things, right? But that's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying we've got to look to the past so that we at least be real with ourselves, right? Let's just be real. We messed up. Whatever you've done, however good you are, you've messed up sometimes. Even if you didn't even know you messed up, I'm sure you have. We all have. That's part of what it means to be human. It's okay. And look, even the most highly lauded of our forefathers have messed up in ways that we couldn't even imagine doing. And because of the fact that he doesn't run away from it, doesn't continue to run away from it, he merits to be called Israel. That's the name of our people today, still. Am Yisrael Chai. The nation of Israel is alive. That's what it means to be Israel, is to say, I'm not going to run away from that. I'm not going to run away from that. I haven't done the best. Not all of it is my fault. Some of it came from generations before. Some of it came from the story that I was told about what the reality is, that there's not enough love in this world, or whether that only one of us can receive it, and then I need to fight with you in order to get it, because otherwise it might run out. We might run out of love, right? That's worth fighting for. But when you understand that that's not true, it has never been true, that there's not enough love in this world, that there's not enough abundance in this world. It's never been true, right? But we get narrowed by those things, and then we act in ways that we're not proud of. And we can look at that and say, I was really doing the best I could, and I'm not going to give it up. And so what happens? What's the next thing that happens in the scene? How do we know that this is legitimate insight? How do we know that this is spiritual practice? Look at that. What happens? He goes and greets his brother and says, to see your face is like seeing the face of God. And you have received me favorably. When you start to look out at people around you and see, wow, look at this beautiful human. I wish them only abundance. I wish them only good. When you notice that you yourself too deserve that, it's available to you, right? That's what it means. That's what happened in that moment. He had an integration, right? He was feet on the ground. I'm a human. I have a body. I make mistakes. I'm a product of my environment, and I am something bigger than that. I'm holy, and I'm connected to every other person and every other thing in this world. That's what happened in that moment. That's what Israel is. Israel is the part of us that we can all feel it inside that says, ugh, this is hard. This is hard to be a human. I like the cat coming across the screen. It's the part of us that when we notice, you can close your eyes right now, even just for a moment, and feel it. There's a part of us that it wants to just be connected, and that knows that we are holy, and that we have always been doing our best. And yes, we have made mistakes, and we will continue to make mistakes. But we're bigger than that. Our struggle is to be integrated, to feel what is happening now, to know that we have not been perfect, and yet we strive to be connected with what the truth is and to be more compassionate with ourselves and with the people around us. To know that we can break free of the BS story that there's not enough love, that drives so much of our unwise action and thought process and the things that we chase after and the way that we compare ourselves to other people. That's Yaakov. That's Jacob. Israel says, yes, I see that is happening inside me, but I refuse to let that be what drives. I refuse to let that be what drives me forward, because I'm a human, but I'm also part of the divine. And so is every other person. And so I want to live up, right? I'm not satisfied with just being who's who and trying to follow after the next person, comparing myself constantly. I will never be satisfied with that. So when I'm closing my eyes and I'm saying Shema Yisrael, I'm saying Shema and I'm listening, not just with my ears, with all of my senses, with all that I can know right now. I ground myself in the reality, what I actually can know right now. My senses, my thoughts. And then I connect with Israel, the part of me that just wants to know with full certainty that there is enough love the part of me that knows that there's a societal pull that says maybe there's not enough. There's a fear that says maybe that's not so. I'm not going to let that. My Israel says I cannot let that be what drives me. I cannot let that be what pushes me forward through my life. That's Israel. And you can feel it. Every day you can feel it. And every part of the day you can feel it. In the morning it may feel different than the night. Tomorrow it might feel different than today. But it's there all the time. That's Israel. And so I feel it and I honor it. And then I do the rest. One word at a time. Yeah, so I wanted to offer you that as a way through the Shema. Just those first two words. We've talked about what Yud He Vav He is, but we can go through it again more succinctly. And if you really want, I have a recording that I just put together of, the step by step, what aspects to cultivate, how to do the imaginative flow. But each one of these sessions, it's like you could do one session at least for each one of those words. Though Yud He Vav He comes up twice, so you only need one session for that. So. But that's what it is. It's like that's part of the process. That's part of the healing of this work, right? And if you just said it by rote, I mean, they have shown that people who say it by rote and take it really seriously and just say all the words and really are worried about that, they end up getting a really good effect based on just the focus of it. This is just another path. It's a different path. Same end, it ends up in the same place. Hopefully, it ends up more kind, more compassionate, making peace with people and things that you never thought you'd be able to make peace with. Seeing God in other people, seeing God in yourself, knowing it. All right, it's a lot of talking for a rabbi. Even for a rabbi, that's a lot of talking. So we can open up for questions or we can practice together. I don't know the timing. I think we should just practice. Let's practice.
Yeah.
And then I'll if you want to send me questions, I'm happy to answer questions later. Everybody has my email. You can also send a message to the rabbi or somehow you'll get my email. Oh, and I'll put a little plug in for Tuesday night. This coming Tuesday night, Jewish Zen master Norman Fischer. If you haven't heard of him, look him up. Norman Fischer is going to be speaking. It's like an hour and a half long program, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. It is to sit at this man's feet is an incredible opportunity. And because we now live in Zoom land, we can do that without having to fly him from San Francisco. So, trying to take advantage of that opportunity. Okay, let's practice. We'll do the Shema. I'll walk you through it. I know it's the middle of the day now, but you know, hopefully this will be l'shem chinuch for you to be able to understand how to do this on your own. And if you want the recording, just sign up for JMCTX, Jewish Mindfulness Center TX.org. Go on there and sign up, or send me an email there, and I'll be happy to send you a recording of how to do this on your own. So we'll ring the bell, settle in. If you can hear me with your eyes closed, that's a good thing. So Shema, listen. Start with your sense of sound. Your sense of touch. What can you smell? What can you taste? What light do you detect with your eyes? And what thoughts are going through your mind? Israel. Feeling the part of us that wants to know. There's enough love. There always has been. There always will be. It's the part of us that's struggling. It's a holy struggler. Feeling it. Now shifting to the part of us that actually is doing the noticing itself. The awareness itself. Your God spark. That's Adonai. That's Eloheinu. That's the thing that makes our decisions for us in our best moments. Adonai, that part of us that pays attention, the spark that's conscious. Echad. It's connected. To all things, to all people, to all the love. To all of our sensations and thoughts. And don't forget Ve'ahavta. And you shall love. Love this life. Love the opportunity to be awake. Thank you. And I hope that offering was helpful, probably, hopefully also new, maybe even unexpected.
Yes, Toda Rabah. Thank you for the insight on the Shema and on the ways to use the Torah in the spiritual path in a practical way. Both are very much appreciated.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. This is a great group.
All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. And Chag Sameach. And may you feel the spirit of the Torah flowing through us as we commemorate Har Sinai, the Revelation. All right, friends. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.